Real hot. Who's hot? I'm hot.
Yeah, you're
so
not now.
hot.
Not now.
Check. Good.
A lot of checking going on.
Yeah.
Check. 1, 2. I'm all in the red right there. I don't want to be in the red. Picky. Test. Hi. Yeah, that blew out right there. But I don't usually talk that loud. But
You sound fine, at least in Zoom, so I'm sure it'll be fine.
You sound better now. Yeah.
I sound good. All right.
I don't know about that.
Well, stop.
Well,
it.
I don't know. That's going to take a lot to sound good.
Well, it's a lot of auto-tune.
Rocco's got to add the magic.
Yeah.
That's it.
He really
Add the
does.
Magic.
Sprinkle
Thank
the
goodness.
magic.
Thank you. Whoever
Okay.
fixed that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It wasn't even my fault. It was an extra little dash that made
Did I
what do
do
you
it?
call that? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, bullets, whatever. That's what broke it.
Might have been me. Was it me?
All I'm saying was,
It's fine. I'll take it. If it was me.
All I'm saying is, Leo, start the show.
let's go.
Start the show. Let's hit it.
Coming up in this episode, we cover OpenSUSE. And I record my thoughts on Audacity. Hey, and welcome to the Linux User Space. I'm Leo.
I'm Dan.
I'm Rocco.
And I'm Joe.
Joe? Joe, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Joe, are you saying something?
You
What?
guys-
Joe?
I think you
Joe, are you having technical difficulties?
No.
Again.
Not me. I don't do technical difficulties. Like,
I mean, I just remember seeing some Slack messages this week.
well, I mean, there was that thing. It kind of
nothing serious?
I might have blown out my whole system on accident.
It was a good thing you had
did you
backups,
do?
right?
Yeah,
What? Well, yeah. So
those backups worked out. Yeah.
backups are great, and let me just tell you, like anybody who hasn't backed up their system recently, Manjaro forums, like anything, like anybody who hasn't done that recently, you might want to look into it. So, yeah, I didn't have any backups of this system. No,
You know,
Really, dude?
not one. I had all my files backed up, but I had nothing. Yeah. So, funny story.
we're
On
laughing.
the way to a podcast.
Funny story. What happened was, so I was wanting to play Elite Dangerous.
Right.
I tried to install it in Steam on Pop OS
As you do.
with,
Yeah.
I did all the things. And then I realized, no, it doesn't work. And I read all these forums and said, no, I'm going to make it work. And then they were like, yeah, it kind of doesn't work. And it kind of does. And then anyways, I tried it. So I said, you know what? This is stupid. I want to just play this game. And I don't want to have to look at a 15-inch screen. And when I hook up my screen, the XPS to external monitors, it just doesn't run as great. So I'm just going to put Windows on another drive so I can play Elite Dangerous.
Strike one.
Yeah. This isn't
So,
Windows user space. I'm just
I
going to put
did
that
my
out.
due diligence. I wrote down all of my disks and partitions and what they were. And I went into the Windows installer and promptly clicked the wrong disk.
Oh. So wait. You can't even blame this on Windows then.
No. This is all all
This is
me
all
go.
Pedcac.
This is something I have teased the life out of people about, and I have never done. And I have no idea. Like my stomach hurts so bad after, and I knew it the second I looked at the drives again. I said, well, what? That doesn't look right. because I have 3 drives in here and multiple partitions on each one. And yeah, I just blew out the whole Pop! OS install. So
Wow.
Whoops. Wait, so are all your drives the same size?
no.
Oh, so there was that too.
Well,
All the red flags were waving the whole time.
Yeah.
two of them are. Two of
Okay.
them are actually.
Still.
Yeah. So the problem was the drive I wanted to put Windows on was a 500 gig SSD, but I had Pop! OS on a 500 gig partition, and then it had 500 gigs of empty space, and then I had another terabyte drive that had only had Manjaro on it. So like that one was easy. I was like, yep, not touching that one. And then, yeah, I don't know. I guess
Now
I clicked
that
the
I
wrong
think about
partition.
it, Windows doesn't differentiate between disk really, except for in the text. It's all.
Yeah.
It just shows you a list of partitions.
If it had said NVMe, I would have known not to touch that drive.
I imagine all it said was unallocated space, right?
It said unallocated space,
Yeah.
said disk 0, disk 1, and disk 2.
Uh-huh.
And even in Linux, it's not disk 0. It's disk 1, it's NVMe 1. And it's
Oh,
disk
okay.
1 and disk 2. It's SDA and SDB or whatever.
Mhm.
So when I went to look, I just
Poof.
It said 500. It was the wrong 500.
was the wrong 500. Yeah.
Ugh.
So
Oh man.
So what did you do then? What did you install? Why didn't you install Pop back? I guess.
because so
Well, we haven't even talked about this. You're not on Pop! OS, number one.
I'm not on Pop! OS, and I didn't replace Pop! OS with it, and I have maybe good reason, maybe not.
You're on Debian 7.
I'm on Debian 7, and I'm running kernel 3.12.
It's good and stable, Joe. That'll help.
But I've got the back ports coming
What
down.
did you install, Joe?
So I wanted to start playing around with Jack, and I thought Ubuntu Studio was the way to go with that, and I didn't think I could handle like generic Xface for. It's just not my bag. So I thought, you know what? The dailies are out. I'm going to go get the Ubuntu Studio 20.10 because it's going to KDE. So I went to install that. Ran into a few glitches. I think mostly I created myself by not clearing the drive properly. But
There's a theme happening here.
He was already in a
but
mental
Dan
bad
was right
state
there with me.
And
I felt so bad. Dan's like, no, try this.
Really?
Let me
That
go
should
download
work.
it. I'm like, don't waste your Sunday, Dan. Like, I think
he got
it's-
me to install it on my laptop as well.
Yeah,
Only I had 100% more success.
you did. He did. I went to install. So I was trying to work around that. I thought, it's just the dumb daily. So I go, you know what? I had good success running 2010 Ubuntu, and I'm like, well, I bet the KDE, the Kubuntu one's good. So I installed that, and then I installed the Ubuntu Studio stuff over that, and then it hit me. Hey, I probably didn't clear that drive out. So then I went back and installed Ubuntu Studio, and it just boom, fired right up and great, and all the things I was thinking about whoever made it went away, and now I love them again. So, yeah, so Ubuntu Studio, amazing, beautiful, well themed, awesome KDE default install. But that's not what I'm on right now because I didn't have time to set it all up. So I just booted into Manjaro, and here I am.
Well, here we are. And then how long did it take you to get ready today?
A half hour,
Nah, that's nothing.
20 minutes.
That's
20 minutes.
nothing.
A few Audacity problems.
I did have
but-
some Audacity
clicks
issues.
here and there.
The one out of the repos for Manjaro didn't do as well as the Flatpak. So the Flatpak fired up, went well. Good to go. It's really a non-story, guys. I don't know what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
Of
okay.
course not.
I'm really glad
So-
you made it, Joe. And there's only one person to blame here.
Yeah, you can blame me.
Got him.
All right, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Let's talk about the roots of OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Dun-dun-dun. See what I did there? So,
No.
founded 1992 by Roland Dyroff, Thomas Fair, Birch, all these European names. Let me just tell you guys,
I'm glad you're announcing them.
they're great people with great names. I don't know them. So Burchard Steinbild and Huber Mantel. That was like the easiest one.
I know you skipped the easiest one. So remind me, what does SUSE? What did it originally stand for?
Well, software and systems development, but you got to say it in German.
Oh, of course,
And I can't say it in German.
because the E doesn't make sense unless you
Right,
say it
doesn't.
in
It's
German.
Software und Systementwicklung. And
That's pretty
maybe
close, I
somebody
think.
from Germany. That was brave,
Right.
right? That was brave.
I don't know enough about German to
I
say
don't
that
know
that was
why
wrong.
You
why
fooled me, so
software
that's cool.
and system are the same in German, but the other two words aren't. So I don't know. But und, I always like saying und, but that is SUSE. Software und Systementwicklung. Software and systems development. 1992, guys. Like
That's where they got the name.
that's
That's a long
one of the
time ago.
OG.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Like
If you are
groups.
fluent in German, I'm gonna need an email from you telling
Yeah.
me, or even with like audio of you saying
Please.
this, so I know how to say it.
An audio clip would be great.
Yes.
That would be
that
great.
would be-
You could give it to
that
us
would
on
be
Telegram
amazing.
even.
Mm-hmm.
You could, but we'd like an email.
We'd like an email as well. Yeah.
We really need to get Dan an email, guys. Somebody send us an email. I don't care what it says. Okay, so 1998, it actually becomes SUSE. They eventually just drop the software und system. Like that's done. Like they're just like, you know what? We're SUSE, and it's SUSE, I believe, is the proper way to say it. Again, one of the more iconic mascots, the logo, right? We talked about the one for Red Hat and Shadow Man, but I mean, this has got to be like right there.
He's cute.
Green Gecko, and you know what he's called? You guys know his name?
He has a name.
He has a name.
What? Okay,
His name
what is
is-
his name?
His name is Geeko.
Oh, that's perfect.
Geeko.
Oh, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Because, you know, geeks and nerds naming
I
conventions.
have thought
so
a few different times that I need
Yeah.
to buy one of these, and that's just another. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it. I have to do
Yeah.
it now.
yeah, he's pretty iconic. So Gecko the Geeko, Geeko the Gecko, whatever. So the original idea for the boys over there at the SUSE project was they developed software and then they would function as an advisory Unix group. So they weren't really a distro from the start. They were more of just a group of people, a company that was going to help people get through using Unix. They decided to then distribute Linux. So now again, they're still not their own distro, but they're distributing other Linux packages. They offered SLS, which was Soft Landing Linux. Anybody ever use Soft Landing Linux?
Nope.
that's
No.
before
And
my time.
Slackware. I know that rings some bells there. So
Yep.
so 1994 version 1.0 of SUSE based on Slackware in German is now available on floppy disks. And did you know you can still buy a boxed version of OpenSUSE or of SUSE in German only right now?
Wait,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
You can buy a new box with a DVD and they'll ship it to you.
I don't want the DVD. I just want the box. Can they
no,
just ship me the box so I can put it, right behind me? So just more stuff to show up.
The link is in the show notes. You can go buy it
You
yourself.
got it.
It's like 39 billion rubles. I don't know, whatever the currency is. But it's German only. So that will help you polish up your German. Go install SUSE in German.
Better have Google
so-
Translate handy.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so. 1996, we were plugging right along. Version 4.2 of SUSE comes out, and it is now based on Jurix. How about that one? That one ring a bell for you guys? Jurix?
Not at all.
Nope. Not at
No,
all.
We are like way past us here. We're guys like
Yeah.
1996. I was graduating high school and going out into the world, not playing with Jurix.
Right.
But what came from Jurix was the creator Florian Laroche. He joins the team and he starts developing Yast Queen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And super secret question. Shipped with version 4.2 for SUSE Linux and version 0.42 of Yast. What is the significance of the 4 and the 2?
Is that's the answer to everything, right? Is that it? Is that what it was?
Yeah, what is it?
42.
Oh, that's 42. Yeah.
42, but what is that from?
Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
That's it. They based those number schemes off of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I thought that was a pretty neat little tidbit. So,
well, anytime I see 42, I'm like, is it? Is it? It could be.
Yeah. So 2003, we've gone forward a few years. SUSE is purchased by Novell. We remember Novell from the 90s. $210 million.
This is when the numbers were still sane. When tech companies bought other tech companies, it's they weren't $70 gajillion, just made up numbers.
It was still a lot for the time, though.
That's a lot.
Definitely
it's true.
Yeah.
210 million. Somebody can do that in the Wayback Machine on Google and find out what it was in real dollars. But Novell at this time vows to keep SUSE development on its own and operating. And that's a theme. And I think we should pay attention to that theme as we go through the history here, because I think this is what has kept SUSE moving forward, is they're being able to be independent and develop without having this control over everything they're doing. We also see YAST 2. Anybody know what YAST stands for? Anybody? YAST?
I had a guess, but it wasn't right, so we'll just leave that go.
I think we want to hear that guess. What was that?
No, we don't.
Okay.
That's the Patreon tier. You got to have that.
Yeah, Patreon tier. Okay. YAST, yet another setup tool. So previously, this had been proprietary management software only that came with SUSE Linux, and it was now released under the GPL license, and it shipped, and everybody had access to it. 2005, Novell announces that SUSE 10.0 would now become even more open with OpenSUSE, and that's where we get OpenSUSE from. This was now going to allow development from within the community. Prior to that, everything was done in-house. They had a team of engineers working on SUSE in-house solid, whereas now they're recruiting the community and allowing them to contribute. So that's pretty exciting news for the time. Big thing. YAST being opened up to the community was big deal as well.
Well, because YAST is their secret sauce, right? I mean, this is the thing that makes OpenSUSE OpenSUSE. Yeah,
I mean it's the thing they have, right? Every distro's got a thing, maybe. Actually, some of them don't.
Some of them don't.
Some of them don't have a thing. But
some of them have just really good Twitter folks. That's.
Yep. Come check out our thing. We think it's a thing. Rocco, you had some experience about this timeline.
Well, I don't know exactly the timeline. It was somewhere after 2005, and I had tried OpenSUSE and ran it for about 8 or 9 months, and it was fantastic, dude. It was the best KDE version you could find out there, bar none. It was so polished. It felt like it was a professional desktop. Like, I had tried other ones, and I'm not even going to mention the ones I tried because that would be bad, but they all felt like they were, up and coming, okay, good, but OpenSUSE had that premium feel to it when it just, everything was aligned, everything was themed the right way, everything was just, if you were going to look at, compare it to a Windows, man, that was a really good comparison.
Wow, high praise. High praise.
Unfortunately, that didn't last long after that.
It's hard to keep up. But they also, at this time they have an up-to-date GNOME option as well. And again, probably the most polished KDE. And they were on KDE early. I mean, if I was looking back through the history, if you think about where they originated in the 90s and then when they really started releasing, they were on early KDE, which, hey, bless them, because there was some stuff to work on there. Going forward, 2011. So here's where it gets a little sticky for the future of SUSE, perhaps. Novell is purchased by Attachmate Group. Now, they split Novell and SUSE into separate subsidiaries, again, keeping SUSE running autonomously, which, again, important.
Right before this happened was the same time I was given my first pair of DNS servers to keep up to date. This is when I get to learn about A records and how all that works. And I was told that if you broke the A records, you broke the entire network for the college. So I was like, oh, hey, man, thanks for, good, awesome. And I had a bunch of help desk guys under me that I had to wrangle as well. That was fun. But I do remember this is when I learned how to SSH into things. This was the very first time that SSH became really important to me. I knew how to use it before, but it is now your job to SSH into something and don't break bind. Okay. Yeah, it was fun. And before this, I mean, I had a lot of experience with Novell on Windows. If anybody did Novell admin back then, you knew the struggle of installing Novell on a Windows anything, Windows XP and Windows 7, and it was not fun. It broke a lot.
Now, sidebar. So I'm surprised. So Novell, their big claim to fame in the 90s was, right, they were the network stack to go into server, but then that all got integrated into Windows NT and all that anyway. So what were they providing that late into the game?
It was, okay, so do you have an idea of what Active Directory is?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was basically being able to apply policies to computers, and they handled all of the login stuff. So you had to take out Windows' login stuff and replace it with Novell's login stuff. So before I ever learned Active Directory, I learned Console 1. Yeah, that was fun.
Awesome. Fun walk down memory lane.
I know.
So not just, 3 years later, another merger. Micro Focus comes in, buys or mergers with Attachmate Group. So now OpenSUSE or SUSE at large is now in its third or fourth ownership here. But thankfully, they are kept and spun out. Novell is spun off into its own company so it can peter off and die or whatever happened to it. And SUSE, it comes into its own and stays on a fairly regular cadence. And it becomes its own business unit, which means a lot of things. It means it gets to start working on its own. It's not tied in with the company as far as marketing and all that stuff goes. Now they have some very focused tools at their hands to really push things forward. 2015, that's really where we get into the kind of the modern view of OpenSUSE and SUSE. OpenSUSE, they come out with Leap, which is pretty much a standard point release. It's your safe installation, so to speak. It's going to be a little more conservative. You have a release about once a year, fairly. They were kind of November-ish and then May, June-ish. It kind of just seemed like they were releasing when they wanted, with the most current one at 15.2. And Tumbleweed, which we all have been trying out, which became its rolling release. And this is as soon as packages hit the factory and go through their development code base, which is what they call the factory, then it gets released into the wild. In 2019, we are again into another merger/acquisition. EQT Partners purchases SUSE for, this number actually was pretty big, I thought.
Yep.
$2.5 billion. I thought, wow. Yeah. And then I thought, how much was Red Hat? $34 billion. The same year IBM acquired Red Hat for $34 billion. But I think what this shows for both is there's a lot of value in this enterprise grade Linux for the desktop, because that's what both with Fedora and with SUSE, these are desktop environments that are running, not just server stuff. So really, really interesting details there. Okay, so OpenSUSE, basic details about it. We talked about the base system. It's factory, it's called. It's their own setup, but it is where their development code base lives. And we have two options. You have Leap, you have which is the yearly release cycle. You have Tumbleweed, which is rolling. Desktop environments, pick one, they have it. They're like everybody else. Yeah. I'd say KDE is probably their flagship, right?
I think so.
But they say that GNOME and XFCE are also part of their flagship. So yep. KDE's been the longest, but they have the others. I read one post that was like, pick a desktop environment and it'll most likely work. So they have it set up a little differently how you install the desktop environments. was pretty interesting when I started digging into that outside of GNOME, XFace, and KDE. The package manager. So this one I know we could spend some time on. So it's libzip is the base there, and it provides Zypper on the command line and Yast as a GUI. And they use the RPM package format. So we got to use both of those.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
I like Zypper on the command line. It really, the format and the feedback that it gives you, it seems really good, and it keeps you informed. I had a lot of learning, and it was a good learning experience.
I thought it was good until I decided that I wanted to try out all the commands, but not the longhand version of the commands, because that would have worked. Yeah. But the shorthand version, right? Because with Zypper, you can do, instead of Zypper install like you do with apt, you can do Zypper in. And so I go down the list of all these different things without looking, of course, right? Why would I read the manual before I do any of this stuff? The one that got me was Zypper remove. Now, Joe, you had the right idea right off the bat, but I'm coming from, there's Zypper in, there's Zypper ref for refresh, and you know every command has the first couple of letters thrown in there. So I'm like, oh, Zypper remove, Zypper re. Yeah. No. That is not how that works.
How'd that work out?
It didn't. It didn't. It was like, hey man, stop being wrong and do it right. I was like, all right, fine, I'll do that.
Leo's like, look at all these extra letters. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
See, right. Exactly. And
Dollar
so,
sign.
yeah, so I need to go in there and do like some kind of alias so I can do Zypper re, because that's just how it feels like it should be in my head for some reason.
The correct answer, though, is Zypper RM.
As it should be. I mean, yeah.
I'm pretty sure
yeah.
we picked that up pretty quick. But Leo's in denial.
Everybody but
It's
me.
like, no,
It's okay.
no.
My brain was like, first letters, go.
Yeah. I still love that the update is zippered up.
Zippered up.
Zipped
Yeah.
up. I got it all zipped up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep. Kernel, as far as kernel goes, 5.8.10 on Tumbleweed. If you are on Leap as of release in July, it was 5.3. Your display manager and all that's going to be, because they have so many different distros, just whatever you're in is what you're going to be in. And as far as the Xorg and Wayland situation, they've been shipping Wayland as an option for quite a while on KDE and Xorg, of course. But it sounds like, from what I could read, they really have working on a lot of development with Wayland, making sure that's going to be. And it sounds like the KDE team at large is just working on. In fact, I think Tumbleweed even said that X was on KDE was just at feature freeze, and they're just letting it get patched up, but they're not really doing anything further with Xorg. Everything else is going to be on Wayland. So the future is almost here, guys. How long has we been waiting on
Yeah.
Wayland?
Got to start working on it, though.
Yeah, got to do it sometime. So got to rip that Band-Aid off. All right, so OpenSUSE. We had it for an entire month. I want to say I have it on 5 systems. So
Wow.
I want to say I don't.
yeah, every time I pulled up a new one, I'm like, well, let me see how it works on old hardware. How does it work on new hardware? I got the new Ryzen system. Well, how does it work on here? So, but enough about me.
I didn't install it on 5 systems. I only put it on 1. And I put it on my laptop. Pretty much the same one I've been testing everything on. It's a Dell i5, 8 gig of RAM. It ran wonderful. You know, I ran Plasma, really liked it. I don't know. I can't say much bad about it. I had one little bug with, actually it was with Zypper, and it was with the tab autocomplete.
Oh, yeah. I remember
was a
this. I
known
ran into
bug.
this too.
Yep. I found a thing, and there was a known bug. It was strange. The first time you try tab complete, it would weird out, and then you hit Control C and get out of it, and then it would work fine after that in the same terminal session. So as long as you made it, you know, wig out on the first one, it held for the whole thing. Other than that, I don't.
Install fish.
Yeah,
Fish
so that-
might have
that was,
worked. I didn't
Install
try
fish.
fish. I like fish. I actually normally use fish as my shell. But it comes with Bash, so I was trying it. I didn't really find a lot of issues. It did a ton of updates. Man, updates come left and right all over the place, and real current stuff. I don't know. Seemed good.
Well, I was looking forward to installing this because, like I said, I had fond memories of OpenSUSE way back. But then, I mentioned when I was talking about it earlier that there was a time where I didn't like it. And there was a time where it was pretty bad everything about it. Theming, just consistency, crashing. Like, there was a time a few years back that I did try it, and that's what I ran into. So I was excited to try it. So I installed it, and the install went great because the last 3 times that I've tried to install OpenSUSE, I don't know if you guys have any issues with the networking or did when you try to install it, but I had so many issues with the networking. And maybe it was because I didn't know what I was doing with it, but it was not simple to just say, when you went through the installer, you had to pick, and I forget what they were. I think there was something called Wicked or
Yep.
something like that. There
For
was
wireless.
Yeah.
yeah, it was, you had to pick, and there were 3 times that I ended up with no internet connection
Oh, wow.
on an OpenSUSE install. So this install went flawless. I didn't have to pick nothing. I don't know why. I don't know what they changed to do that, but it's great. It's awesome. I went into the system, had an internet connection, started my updates, and everything was actually pretty good. I was impressed. I mentioned earlier about the polish of the way it used to be. I was really impressed with the KDE that they have. I wanted to try KDE. I kind of have this love-hate relationship with it where sometimes it works great and sometimes it doesn't. The feel of it works great. The problems I have are specific to KDE sometimes, where maybe things don't work the way they should in my hardware. So, for example, if I right-click on the mouse, I have to do it at least twice every time on a KDE system
Ugh.
because it just does not recognize that first right-click. For whatever reason, I don't know why.
You got to stop
If I-
throwing your mouse across the room, man.
Yeah, save the mice.
I can switch that to Pop!
I know
OS,
what it
and
is.
I never have a problem at
It's
all.
that Apple mouse you're trying to use. It only has one
Yeah,
button.
it's only got
one
bro.
button.
It's
Yeah.
only got
Yeah.
one button.
Surely you
man.
got to install some firmware for the
It's
like
the
magic flick.
mouse, dude.
Yeah.
I know,
The
but
magic
the magic
flicks.
is it only has one button.
So getting back to this, that really I don't think is OpenSUSE's fault. That's more of a KDE thing. But when you get to the welcome screen, it's not a welcome screen that's going to walk you through. It's just not. It's one of those older type welcome screens where it's just basically giving you information. So when you click on the README, it takes you to a page, and it actually explains it pretty well of what you need to do if you want, say, Google Chrome or proprietary things like
Yeah.
NVIDIA.
That's the one link you need,
Yeah.
and it'll take care of you. That
Yes.
portal link for Tumbleweed gives you all the answers that you need. You just have to click it.
Little
Now,
reading.
I'm installing this on an AMD machine. Did you guys install this on an NVIDIA machine at all?
I did install it
laptop's
on
NVIDIA.
Yeah, my laptop is NVIDIA as well.
Now, you know better than to ask me that question, Rocco.
I know. I was looking at this is an AMD machine, but I was looking at the install process for NVIDIA. It kind of looked a little tedious. How did it go with you guys?
It's fine.
Yeah, it is a little tedious. It's not that bad though. No,
It's not Fedora tedious.
no, it was not.
Yeah. It's not Manjaro Pop! OS easy, but it's not Fedora tedious.
Yeah.
It was
It-
not bad.
I think if you follow the instructions you're okay.
So the next box for the welcome screen is documentation. And I think I have to say that OpenSUSE has some of the best documentation
They do.
out there. Rivals or surpasses the Arch Wiki in everything it details out for you. You go there and there are links to everything from a startup guide, a new GNOME user guide, reference, security, tuning, and all these other ones. And man, that documentation is fantastic. So it gives you that, for me, it gave me that feeling when I had years ago, when I first got into Linux, to enjoy tinkering and learning about it. Man, I wish I had more time
Yes.
to do that
Yes.
and read those guides and tinker with the system. But man, it gives you that awesome feeling like that.
Yeah, one of the things that's what struck me when I got to the portal. I was like, all right, what are the 700 things that I'm going to have to do to make this thing usable? But the portal was so well laid out. It you know it's a wiki underneath, or at least it's something similar to a wiki underneath, but it doesn't feel like a wiki when you're using it.
No.
It's just
Right.
like,
It's
hey,
modern.
you know what? I know you want to do this, so do this and do this and do
Yes.
this. So, one of the things that I found out on that portal was I was updating it wrong multiple times. So don't use GNOME software. That's a thing. Really?
Yeah.
Well,
it caught me off guard, man.
Don't use Discover either.
Because with my distros, first thing I do is pop open GNOME software and click update. I mean, obviously I went with the GNOME version, and I clicked update, and then I'm like, all right, you know what I want to do? I want to watch something in Firefox, so I'm gonna have to get codecs, and so I go to the portal, and real big on top, it's like, don't update the way you updated. Whoops. And I did a zipper up as well, which is also a no-no. You don't do that. It's all zippered up. Zipper
Right.
DUP.
Got to be
So-
zipped up. Man.
Yeah,
Zipped
you
up.
gotta be. You gotta be. Just caught me off guard. But all that to say, the portal's fantastic. You just gotta read it. Don't pull a me and just
Right.
randomly do stuff. Read it.
We spent
Yep.
we spent a month with this, and I feel like I could spend another month still learning more.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Definitely.
So what about YAS Control Center? I know we talked about YAS as far as like what it represents, but just getting into Control Center, what did you guys think about that?
You know that feeling you get when you go into KDE and you're like, "Hey, I'm looking for this one setting." I kind of got that vibe where it was like, this does everything, all the things, anything that you want to do. There's a button for it or a toggle for it in YAST, which is good. It's a good thing because the alternative is do it in the command line. Good luck. So that is a fantastic thing. But yeah, the very first time I opened it up, I was, to say the least, a little overwhelmed. But I mean, how much time did it take me to figure out the command line versions of all that stuff? Yeah. YAST is a lifesaver.
You knew where to go. You went into YAST. I mean, that's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all that to say, YAST is great. It just was like, whoa, when I first saw it.
It's a lot to take in. It reminds me a little bit of Mac OS as far as how it's laid out. When you just look at it, I mean, I think it's far more powerful and more
Oh, by a long
more
shot.
knobs to turn
Yeah.
in there for sure.
That's a good
But
point.
they did take some time in breaking it down. They've got software, hardware, system, network, security. So it's not like all just scattered across the page. At least it is, if you can find the section you want to be in, you're more than likely going to find what you're looking for. But
Well, I tried the software in the store, and I was excited that there was a store, and then not excited because maybe I'm a noob or something. I didn't know it wasn't working for me. So I would go to the store, pick a piece of software, and I would download the little file you needed, and it would either open, if I just clicked it, it would open in the web browser with all kinds of code in it. If I right clicked and saved it, it would download, and I would open that in YAS or whatever, and it would tell me that it was not possible to install it.
Are you talking about the YUMP files?
Yes, the YMP, the YUMP files.
I'm going to assume it's YUMP, right? It's got to be.
yeah,
Any other thoughts on what YUMP, how you pronounce that?
That works. I mean, I don't know.
It's just
Yeah.
YMP, dude.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. I'm gonna continue saying YUMP though. So
it's either Yump or it's Yimp.
Well, I got some help from Nate because you can't run OpenSUSE and not get help from Cubicle Nate because he is the guy. And we figured out that, or I should say, he figured out that I was an idiot and I was downloading the wrong version of the software.
did you get
Because-
the Leap one?
Because the Leap is the first one that comes up.
Uh-huh.
And then you got to scroll down
You didn't
and go
read
to
it.
other distributions and then say Tumbleweed. And then, hey, there it is. And it worked perfectly. So, yeah, I mean, but again, that goes back to if I was going to suggest this, it would not be for a new user because there's so many things like that. But for somebody that likes to tinker and loves to play with the system, this is a perfect thing.
It's
Yeah.
for people who like to mess with computers.
That's
Right.
it. Well, I mean, I kind of got that vibe as well, where, I mean, you could certainly be welcome as a new user as long as you don't mind learning a little bit about what you're doing.
Right.
But there seemed to me to be 3 separate major ways to install software, and that kind of got confusing after a little while because you've got Pac-Man. And if you go to the portal, it's like, you want all these codecs, you want all your stuff to run? Cool, check out Pac-Man, and it'll tell you how to install it, and that's great. And then you have the OpenSUSE build service, which I realized was kind of like a PPA in that this is where other folks just drop their software, they'll compile it for you and all of this stuff. And the greatest thing about this is that it's not confined to SUSE. The OpenSUSE build service is
It's
meant
the
for
open build service.
everybody. Yeah,
Open
there's
build
there are
service.
Debian
Open build
packages.
service, not
And
OpenSUSE.
Right.
Open
oh,
build
I'm sorry.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all the different distributions out there. There's probably whatever it is you're looking for. It's there. And then, as Rocco was talking about, there are the YUMP files, where I was able to get what was I looking for with YUMP? It was Android tools. Android. So everybody but Ubuntu apparently calls it Android tools. Maybe I'm just installing the wrong thing in Ubuntu. I don't know. But I'm getting ADB. All I want is ADB.
ADB. Yeah.
So in OpenSUSE, it's Android tools as well, just as it was in Fedora. I install that thing, but you had to do it through the YUMP file. And so those just remind me of MSIs in Windows, where
Yep.
it's like it's just the installer and it does all the stuff for you. That was really cool. But just having to remember those. Like, where did I get these codecs? Was it from? Did I download a YUMP file? Was it just built
Right.
in? What was the deal? Was it in Pac-Man? And yeah, that kind of got confusing after a little while.
Well, on top of that, you can install Flatpaks and snaps.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
there is sky's the limit on ways to
Right.
install software here. I mean,
And that's a great
is.
thing.
It
It
is.
really is. It's just a lot for somebody that's not ready for
It's
it.
drinking
Yeah,
from
you
the
gotta
fire
juggle
hose.
it.
Yeah,
Because you do have to set those up as well.
You
the
do.
Flatpak
You
and the
do.
Snap.
Mhm.
but it's relatively straightforward. You follow the instructions on FlatHub, or if you
Yep.
follow the instructions on, the Snapcraft website, you follow those instructions. Easy.
Yeah, Snap seemed to be a little more involved.
It was a little
to
more
get
involved.
installed.
Did you go all the way through the Hello World installation?
No.
Come on.
You had to
Come on,
get
yo.
you had to do something funny with Snapper, and had to go through a few more hoops.
You had
whereas
to add a
Flatpak,
repo. There was a repo, I think, you had.
It was a Pac-Man repo. Yeah, it's
Yes,
a
it
Snapper
was.
Pac-Man repo. I think that's what it was. And with Flatpak, Flatpak is already installed by default, so all you had to do is really just add FlatHub, and you're able to get a hold of all of that. I know all of this because I tried to install Slack through every main way I could figure, and then eventually just installed it via Flatpak after all.
Yeah.
Because the OBS did not have what I wanted.
The only thing it's missing, as far as installation goes, is I found myself wanting the AUR.
Really? Why?
Well, for it to be rolling, I wanted that. Well, I tell you what, I wanted the simplicity of, I love the way Manjaro does it, where it's in one software screen. You add your Snap, your Flatpak,
Yep.
your AUR,
That is
and your
nice.
repo. And I just go, hey, I want Slack. And it's like, here, there's 3 options for Slack. One's a Flatpak, one's a Snap, and one's a AUR. I found myself missing some of that kind of, and that's not just the AUR, but I think that's just more of an Arch thing. But I would have liked to have a little bit more of continuity.
Yeah.
I think they're on to a lot of good things. I like the idea. They're kind of mimicking Snap and FlatHub as far as, hey, let's just have a website with our software packages, and you just click the
Yeah.
install. And I think that's really cool if they can get it, working really smoothly, so that Rocco knows which one to install. But again,
Very funny.
right, not for a new user.
Yep.
But
It's not so
I
publicized.
I definitely liked what they did here. This has made me fall in love with KDE again. This will be like, I can't believe how beautiful. I don't know what they've done differently,
It's nice.
but I have thoroughly loved KDE on, and you guys know how much GNOME.
Yeah.
I spend my life in GNOME. I love GNOME. This was the by bar none the best KDE experience I've ever had. So
The one thing I would have liked to seen is them have a OpenSUSE dark theme. You can put Breeze on.
Yep, Breeze Dark.
Like Breeze
but
Dark.
Yeah.
And they have an OpenSUSE theme, but it would be nice if they had an OpenSUSE dark theme.
Yep.
They did have some community members, obviously, that are only on OpenSUSE, had put some themes in for KDE that I could not find in Manjaro. And I found one in here, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. I set it all up, and then I went to my Manjaro, and I was going to put it on, and nope, wasn't available. So that's kind of a differentiator.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they had a better dark theme out of the box, would be cool.
How excited you were about that really made me kind of jealous that I went with GNOME on this one because I love KDE. I love
Yeah.
Plasma. I just like the way it feels, and then the blur is a nice touch whenever you can get that smattered all over the place.
And yeah, and I'm just tell you, on my laptop with the 4K screen, this is as pretty as I've seen this screen. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
That's cool.
It looks like just butter. Like, I mean, it just is amazing. Like, just beautiful.
Well, speaking of butter, you bring that up, and
Yeah, I like butter on my
Oh.
butter.
How about in your file system?
Love butter
yeah.
in my file system.
So that's another thing I think that really sets OpenSUSE apart is ButterFS and their implementation. That is, well, they're the only ones. I mean, I think Fedora is going to get there maybe, but they're not there now. And one nice thing, like, we didn't have problems when we updated, but it takes a system snapshot, when it does an update. So if one of those,
You mean a backup, Dan?
well,
Who
In a
does
way,
that? Nobody does that.
yeah,
I mean, that would have been useful for Joe
It might have.
this past
Well,
week.
I don't think it would have saved him
I
there.
don't know how well they do, because I still think that snapshot's on the drive I blew out.
Yeah,
So,
if you erase the whole drive, you're probably done. However,
yeah,
if you
because actually Pop had some backup kernels, I could have loaded too. But yeah, no, it's all gone. Yeah. Thanks for ripping that Band-Aid
Okay.
off again and pouring salt on
you're
it.
welcome.
Thanks.
Anytime, Joe.
But
That won't be the last time.
if your update goes bad, you can roll back, and Yast will help you out here because there's tools for that built into Yast. I didn't.
Did you go through that at all?
I didn't go through it. I did look at my snapshots, and I could see the changes that it had made, and it kept track of all of that. It was really interesting.
And that's actually one thing that I don't know that we mentioned earlier on was that doing updates in OpenSUSE Tumbleweed is kind of different than you do in any other rolling release. It's not update this package, that package, that package. Well, I guess it kind of is, but it's a conglomeration of all of the
Delta.
bits that constitute this particular snapshot that we rolled this week.
Right.
And you that's why you do zipper dup instead of zipper up or some other way of installing software, because they package it all up for you, test it, and then give you the whole thing.
Right.
Not little bits and pieces of it, the whole thing. And I think that's actually a really good way to do a rolling distro. And until this most recent snapshot, I did not have any issues whatsoever. And none of the issues that I had in this current snapshot, which would be 2020, September 25, none of those issues showed up before, but it was easy to work around them. So once I got onto that snapshot, if I logged into GNOME on Wayland, Telegram would not launch. I got a few errors when I launched it through terminals, so I know something was broken. It actually explicitly said, "Is X gone?" or "Is I can't find X?" or something like that. It explicitly invoked X, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And in Firefox, if I ever tried to go to Gmail, give it about 5 seconds, and it was like, "This tab crashed." What? So lucky for me, the Xorg version of OpenSUSE is there. So logged out, logged into that. Everything worked okay. So some weird issue with Wayland, and I literally did this upgrade a couple hours before sitting down to record this. So yeah, that was fun.
That actually reminds me of one of the things about KDE that I prefer GNOME with is the fact that you got to log out for every change that you make, anything for window management or graphics or high DPI or anything. It's got to log out and log back in where, you know, I don't know if that's necessary or it should be in 2020.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's true.
Well, I mean, it's got to be something with there. I mean, I've long cried my issues with installing KDE on a 4K screen.
Mhm.
You need a magnifying glass to find so you can change the settings. Whereas the GNOME one or Cinnamon or XFC, they're like, oh, hey, guess what? You have a 4K screen. Boom. We need to change your aspect,
Right.
ratio and everything. KDE is like, nah. What do you mean?
You can't see it.
Who needs that?
You've got eyes, right? Just look.
Right.
Squint.
But
The only other thing I want to say about, and you guys mentioned it earlier, was about not using, Leo, you said not using GNOME software, and I mentioned about not using Discover, where, I mean, I just had it just right before the show where I did an update. It was just one package, and of course it errored out in Discover.
yeah.
Again, because I kept trying it to see if it was going to work, and it just kept erroring out in Discover, and then I just went in and just did it via command line, and it was fine. So
That
if
is
you're
one
gonna-
thing.
if you're going to use it, use the command line for updating.
Yeah.
Don't use the
Yeah.
GUI.
It would be nice if, like Manjaro, they just pull Software Center and Discover out of there. There's no reason to even have them in there. They're not accomplishing anything. You're not going to install anything with them. You're not going to update anything. It's just going to break stuff. Like, just pull it out.
Well, see, that's the thing. For software, to me, I think I don't have a problem with it being in there. It's the updates that never
Right.
seem to go right. Like for software, it seems to be okay sometimes, and it's getting better and better and better as time goes on. Because it was terrible when it first came out. It's getting better. It's just, man, don't use it for updates.
I didn't use it once.
And I would be perfectly
use it
fine
once.
with it not being in there
Yeah,
too,
I
just
didn't
like
need
you
it.
said.
I
didn't
will
need it.
say the reason that I used GNOME software for updates the very first time was because it literally said, hey, you have updates.
Oh, yeah.
Go update. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me just
Sure.
go click, update,
That's
update,
exactly
update.
what Discover
Yeah,
said,
well,
dude.
Plasma
Yeah,
has the
so-
little thing, and you click on it, and it takes you to Discover.
I ignored
which,
Yeah.
I ignored
Well,
all that.
But I think that's to Joe's point. I mean, that's
Don't do that.
misleading. And if you're not meant to do that, it definitely should not tell you to do that.
Right.
And the other thing that I ran into with that, regardless of how I did my updates, no matter what I did, once I rebooted, it told me, hey, your updates failed. And I'm like, oh, that's the first time I saw that, I freaked out. I was like, oh, no. Well, hopefully the snapshot works. But yeah, and it turns out that I think it's just tripping over itself when it tries to log on to Wi-Fi. It checks before the Wi-Fi is enabled.
Oh,
So it's just like, hey, I couldn't get to the internet, but that's really all it was saying once I dug into it. But scary message didn't really mean much.
Yeah. Also, whoever K-Wallet can go jump off a cliff.
Right?
yeah.
Like
You ain't
just-
lying.
Just like the most annoying ever. Just disable that junk or figure out how to make it not the most annoying, nagging piece of software ever.
Joe,
Just-
it has always
Always.
been that way.
Always.
why?
Always.
Is this like the GNOME Wallet thing where as long as you log into your session, it won't ask you, but if you don't log in, if it just like auto logs in for
Yes.
you, then it's just gonna everything you do, it's
Oh,
like, hey,
yes.
K-Wallet.
So how do I get out of the auto login?
Oh, I don't know.
I've gone to my username and tried to I changed it. It's not set to auto log in, but I auto log in every time. And then I've got to
That
do
is funny.
K-Wallet and I'm like, K-Wallet.
So if you
why?
can figure that out, K-Wallet will leave you alone. I think.
I'm gonna
Yes.
possibly
What I did was I ended up putting nothing in the password. I set up K-Wallet and put in nothing as the password.
it let
And-
you? What?
Yeah, it let
Super top
What, so you
secret
can just
password.
smack enter whenever it pops up?
me. Yeah, pretty
And
much.
it's high score.
Boom. All right, guys, we have talked about this one for quite some time. What are your final thoughts on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed?
Very solid. For a rolling distribution, it's great, but it's a tinkerer's delight.
I'm gonna agree there. It's if you like to tinker, if you like to plug things in and mess around, it is a fantastic distribution to hang your hat on. I would put it on par with not y'all's experience, but my experience with Fedora, which has been fantastic.
How dare
It's,
you?
it's great.
How dare you? Leo,
Fedora is
how dare
still
you?
good.
Well, I can tell you that I was not disappointed in trying it. And that was a good thing because in the recent experiences with it, I was very disappointed with it. It is going to stay on this test machine because
Ooh.
I'm telling you, I don't have a lot of time right now, but it brings back those memories, them feelings that it invokes in you that when you first came to Linux, that you can mess around with something. And with the super documentation that they have, it's awesome.
You heard
It's
it here
awesome.
first, folks. Rocco's going to be doing his plasma videos again.
I don't know about that, but it's definitely going to be staying on this machine.
Very good, very good. Well, this has rekindled my love for KDE. I absolutely had the experience on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed that I thought I was going to have on Fedora. And I was so hurt with Fedora. Like it just was just a train wreck from the beginning. This has been nothing but pleasant. I've been on it a month. I've been on a rolling release for a month, had not one package break. Everything just happens. It seems to work. I'm maybe rose-colored glasses. Maybe a month is too short. We'll have to talk to Nate. There's a reason Nate's over there. So, and he has been OpenSUSE for like, he is their representative. I feel like, I hope they're paying him something, but
They're not, but he's that kind of guy.
They need to be paying him something. He is, amazing to reach out for when it comes to it. But yeah, this will be staying on my laptop. I may end up on my production machine I'm really toying with
That's
it.
high
Yeah,
praise.
I'm really toying
That's
with it. I really have enjoyed this month.
Nice.
I can't express it enough. So, and that is a shocker. Is not what I expected. I've tried OpenSUSE in the past and it was not this. So, yeah, keeping it.
Nice.
Housekeeping.
We get you fresh towels.
Do we have to do this every time? Every show?
I don't think so. But maybe. But maybe.
All right. The Linux community has some fantastic members, and we want to make sure to highlight that. In our podcast showcase for this episode, we have tabs, not spaces. We had some discussion about including this podcast, and the only person that really opposed it was Joe. And
Of course.
Yeah.
Why would he want this podcast?
What do you mean? What I opposed it? What are
you said
talking
no,
about?
absolutely not, never, ever. And the reason, he did want me to point out that it is a computer-generated voice that is reading the text. But I'll say I still think it's a great podcast, and it's a great addition to the Linux podcast space.
But it is a good voice. Like
Oh, very
it
good.
doesn't sound automated or robotic. Well, you can catch it every now and then,
Slightly.
but
You know,
Wait.
you could catch it, but it's
Here
the
is
best
your
one
Linux
that's
news
out
for
there.
Tuesday, the 23rd
It is
of
not that
August.
It's
bad.
not that.
We want to tell you the Linux Foundation has no money.
Nope. It was the cadence on it was very good, and it felt natural the way it read. That to you.
Firefox is laid off 746,000 employees today. Another 100 tomorrow.
Don't listen to Joe.
They have no
I'll
money.
say.
Google will be sending them more money so they can support them. Good day.
Dan, I had never heard of this podcast before, I'll be honest. And I listened to it this week, and I thought it was fantastic. Gave you some great news about what I'm concerned about, which is Linux. And, without, Linux headlines, it's kind of like that's a sore spot. There's nothing there really that gives you a short, concise, except for Leo. Full circle.
Yes.
yeah. There's a weekly one that comes out over there. You can check that one out if you want.
But it fills a space that's needed, and I think
so.
it was awesome, and it's going to stay on my podcast list.
It's a podcast for robots.
It's not that bad.
Not that bad.
That voice.
It's not.
Okay, so
It
the voice
really
is
isn't.
really, really good. You can still tell it's computer generated, but it's really good.
So is it like Rosie the Robot good, or is it like Siri, Alexa good?
I think it's kind of
Just
better
set
than
off
Siri.
everybody's phone.
Yeah, I was
be
gonna
honest with
say
you.
Yep.
it's top notch, man.
I think
mean,
so.
It really is.
If you're zoning out while you're listening to these things, if you're not really listening to like audio quality and cadence and everything, you won't catch it. You won't notice that it's a robot.
Dude, if you didn't tell me before we listened to it that it was a computer-generated podcast, I probably would not have known.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have caught it, and maybe I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
You really
Give it
should.
a try.
Yeah, you really
I
should.
need another podcast.
It's
I'm just
excellent.
Hey, they're short, dude.
kidding.
They're
I do
short.
miss the Daily Show, so that this will fill that in.
Yeah, so
Yep.
6-7 minutes, right around there, twice a week. Good stuff.
Awesome.
If you like what you hear on this show, please consider sponsoring us on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/LinuxUserspace. That's patreon.com/LinuxUserspace, all one word. Please follow us on Twitter @LinuxUserspace to get all the latest announcements for this show and highlights for things that impact your user space. You'll find crazy 3D pinball challenges among other good fun too.
What's the high score on that? That's 3 million?
Yeah, I think that might have been Dolphin.
Of
man.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dolphin came in and killed us
Yeah,
all.
he did.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. The bar has been set. Let's throw down now.
We also have our growing Telegram group. Please join us at linuxuserspace.show/Telegram to continue the conversation. And I've got to say, this is one of my highlights daily, because I read all the messages there and I try to interact with
That's a
everybody.
shock, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's
That's a shock that you read every message.
Dan reads all the messages every day.
Wait a minute. Dan's been a robot voice this whole time?
you know it.
It's so real and lifelike.
Lastly, don't forget to rate this podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast application, and like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. You can always get more information at our website, linuxuserspace.show.
This is App Focus, where we focus on the app. And in this episode, we're going to focus on something that has been driving this show every single episode from the very beginning, and that's Audacity. So, what is Audacity? This is the Swiss Army knife of audio production. Until you utter the words, master a track, Audacity is going to be perfect for you. Besides recording your audio, it'll apply noise reduction, it'll do compression, it'll remove your silence, it'll apply equalizer. Just about anything a podcaster, wink wink, would want out of the box. And importantly, even more important than the other stuff, it's also FOSS, free and open source software. So, if you're a podcaster and you're making money, you might want to throw them a little bit of change. They are fantastic. I've been using it on the Mintcast. I've been using it here. I use it to record and edit Full Circle Weekly News. It's been a tool in my wheelhouse for the day I started doing any kind of audio production.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been using this, a long time, a very long time. And it's typically my go-to when I just need to record something real quick and just want to get a, simple one-track recording or even a stereo track recording. It's my go-to.
Well, there are other programs that I use, but this has to be the best overall audio program for any Linux distribution. There are other more advanced programs. You could mention Ardour, and once you get, like you said, once you're there, master a track, and you're into this. If you're an audio geek, you're going to want something that has more features to it, or maybe different features. Like, for example, Audacity's effects that they apply are, I guess, destructive, if you would say it like that, where they get applied and then you have to actually remove them, where other programs just apply them live. So there are things that you could do better in other programs, but this program does everything anyone needs really on a situation where they need audio. And for example, recording these tracks that we do does everything you need in a simple way. I don't see how we could live without it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. And even a software audio noob like myself.
Except for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for today. But again, that was a repo versus snap versus Flatpak issue, I think. But audio hardware, I know pretty well, but software, not my thing. Hasn't been for a long time, even though that's where we're at now. So Audacity makes it easy for me. And I think we failed to mention when we had Stuart on, we were talking about, hey, what are the native Linux apps that are just great? And I think we failed to mention Audacity.
Yep, you're right.
And I don't know how we missed that one, but that one was
It's because it's so good you don't think about it.
right.
It is cross-platform.
Yeah.
You can find it on other platforms as well, but it runs super well on Linux. It feels like a Linux first sort of mentality.
I mean, it really does, because I've tried to edit a whole entire Mintcast on Windows in Audacity. Unless it got better, I don't want to do that again.
Right.
It was slow. It didn't feel native. I mean, but there are a million other apps that you can use on Windows. So I mean, certainly you could just jump on one of those. But the fact that it's in every repo, it's always up to date if you go with the Flatpak or Snap version of it. It's just there, and it's just good. And I will say about this app that I did not realize that you could add more to it. So I thought, so you click on effects, and then this whole long list comes down, and you can do a gajillion and one things with all of your audio. I was talking to one of the people on the Mintcast, and we were talking about noise gates. And there's not one in Audacity, not by default. And let me just explain this to you. When you click effects, the very first option in the list is add plugin.
Yep.
I don't know how I missed it. Years, dude.
You went right by it, dude.
All the time. You know why? Because the instructions I had before I ever knew how to use Audacity, how to edit with Audacity, was go to effects, go to compressor. And so I just didn't even do my normal explore all the options thing and was like, I got to get this show out. So, click, 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 click. Yeah, it never dawned on me. You could add stuff. And then we were talking about the noise gate, and he was like, here, you just go get the noise gate thing, and this is how you install it. And I'm like, what? You just blew my mind. I mean, he was an audio editor. This is Owen, by the way, our editor now on the Mintcast. He was an audio editor in a previous life, and so he brought a lot of knowledge, and like he's really dropped a lot of knowledge on me. And I was like, I didn't even know Audacity could do this. I didn't know you could do this. So, I mean, outside of the fact that out of the box, it is a fantastic tool, you can add more to it. My only gripe, and that's what Rocco was talking about before, is that when you apply something to it, you apply something to it.
Yeah.
It will write it to disk. So my real gripe is that anytime you apply something to an Audacity track, it writes it to disk, which means that if you're doing it on a hard drive versus an SSD, the hard drive is really gonna slow things down. And you're gonna excessively write to your SSD. So, just be aware of those things. But yeah, it's so good of an app that it is one of my, you got to install it every single Linux distribution you install. Got to have Audacity.
For this podcast, I edit the audio in DaVinci Resolve, but I still pull it out of DaVinci Resolve and still put it in Audacity to use certain effects just because they work better than DaVinci
That's
Resolve.
interesting.
Just saying.
Wow.
But we also all record in Audacity.
Yep.
So that's, three of us
Yeah.
do.
Except,
Yeah. Dan, three of us do.
okay.
Dan likes 12 gig audio
Yeah.
files, so
Well,
he records.
I still use
somebody
Audacity
else.
a lot. I
it's
Don't use it
PCM
here.
128-bit something.
something. There's a lot of zeros and hertz.
There's a lot of gigabytes there too.
right.
It sounds so good, though.
My Google Drive storage is filling up, Joe. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Stop recording in HD surround sound 15.7 channel audio, Dan. How about that? Let's try a mono track to update.
Well,
Well, I don't guess I got to ask if we're going to use it. I'm going to continue to use it for sure.
We're definitely using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's top 3-4 download new distro app, like boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's a great program. It's awesome.
Next time on Linux User Space, our distro of the month is going to be Deepin. Based on what, Leo?
Debian 10. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Debian 10. This has got what? Kernel 1? No.
Kernel 3?
No, good stuff.
3.752?
Kernel 5.4. So that's the long-term support kernel, or you can choose to install 5.7 during the install. Or so I'm told. That's what the page said anyway.
So this is not the Ubuntu Deepin UDD or whatever it was that we tried. This is actual Deepin based on Debian, and that is our distro of the month. That's what we're going to be trying, and we would love all of you to follow along with us and check out Deepin as well. You know, you can always join that Telegram group that Dan reads every week. And, you know, I think we all read it, but we always give Dan a hard time about it. But you can communicate with us. You can talk about your issues. Maybe we can work through them together. And that would be awesome. So with us trying out Deepin for this month, that means our next show will not be a distro because we'll be trying Deepin for the whole month. It'll be topic-based. And we have a few topics planned for you guys that we will talk about. And I won't say them now, but they will all affect the Linux user space.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, for your support, and especially those of you that followed us along on our OpenSUSE Tumbleweed journey. For us, where can we find you fine folks?
I'm at KC2BEZ.
I'm at Big Daddy Linux.
I'm at Jojo_Fett.
And I'm at Leo Chavez. Join us in 2 weeks when we return to the Linux user space.
Leo, that was perfecto.
Leo Chavez.
If we could only have like some money jingle when you did this.
Oh, that would be
like for
great.
dollar sign.
Oh, there you go.
Cha-ching.
That would be so
Great.
awesome.
Yeah.
How did I start this out before? Don't remember how I
Come
started it
on,
out
come
last time.
on.
Hello.
I mean, did I just start it out next time?
Yeah, I think
on...
coming up next
Time
episode.
on
so.
Linux user space for this month, we will use
Oh my gosh.
Deepin.
All right.
Number 5 is alive.
What are beans?
What are beans? Stop it.
What are beans?
Yeah, it would kind of be like a call-in kind of thing, you know, like on a radio show
Yeah.
where you're like, all right, caller, what do you
Yeah.
think? And then
First time, long time, dude. I'm so excited for this show. Like
Germany, not California.
I've been on hold. Did I win the tickets?
No, you're caller
wanna see
99.
some
We're looking for
41.
caller 100. Bye.
No, but I thought we were doing it now in the front because we didn't talk about the banter stuff.
Oh,
Oh.
you're
You
right.
remember? Like what we're going to talk about is OpenSUSE and Audacity, right?
This is why Rocco's here. Gosh, because we don't know what we're doing. Yes.
He is our
Thanks.
leader.
Okay.
Hit it, Leo.
Well, that's why it's Rocco's podcast.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I
of
mean,
course it is.
it's Rocco's podcast. I mean,
That was good. That
just
was well
ask
played.
anybody not involved. They
That's
will
true.
tell you it's Rocco's.
It's Rocco's podcast. You know it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'll
Joe.
tell you, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. That was
I'm-
I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
I can't tweet out this next episode without the Blame Joe hashtag.
No,
Oh,
you have
no.
to.
I'm telling you.
have to.
Sorry, man.
Definitely.
It's
Sorry.
going to happen,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, this is good. At least it's me blaming me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
me blaming me. When,
Well,
when
we're
I,
going to blame you too.
when I get a random message during Biddle on Slack that's like, if Joe was here, we could have
Well.
got through this, and it's like, blame Joe. I'm like, I'm not even there.
The reach is far, man. The reach is far.